Hello and welcome to the Rare Mama podcast. I'm your host, Karina Hogan. I am a mom with 2 special needs daughters and also a bonus mom. I share with you my journey, my story, and other parents' experiences when it comes to divorce, dating, relationships, co-parenting, and special needs parenting. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Super excited to be recording episodes once again. I know I've taken a little break, was mourning the passing of my friend Sean Hudson. So yeah, that episode on fatherhood with him was a very special episode. I was super excited to do that episode, and we are going to continue the conversation of fatherhood. I believe that fathers need to have that space and that just vulnerability to be able to talk about fatherhood from their perspective. And we are going to continue that conversation on this show. So, couple of housekeeping things. So there's some exciting things coming to the Rare Mama podcast. So I am starting a brand new series that is dropping in January of 2025. It is called Couch Confessions. So that is a series I will record weekly. I will drop the episodes weekly. It is live recordings from my couch where I read listener emails, parent emails, different types of raw stories when it comes to single parenting, divorce, special needs parenting, dating, and relationships while being a special needs parent. So super excited about that. Also, the Rare Mama podcast will have its own YouTube channel. Yes, in January of 2025, I will be on YouTube with all the video podcasts, episodes from the Rare Mama podcast. This is an exciting venture and I'm super excited. It's just going to take me about a month or so to get all the tech done. So stay tuned for that because I will drop the dates on when that will be available. So make sure you continue to listen to the podcast so you know when that will be available to you. So let's get into today's episode where we are talking about silent grief. And I know this is something that is not commonly spoken about. So we are going to bring some awareness when it comes to silent grief as special needs parents. So silent grief can look like mourning the type of life or the type of direction or something that you imagine for your special needs child. You know, as parents, we imagine a certain type of life, a certain type of direction that we would like for our children, whether it's sports, gymnastics, participating in school, extracurricular activities, birthday parties, holiday events, whatever that may be. Now, as special needs parents, this looks very different. It is a life that we envision, but then the outlook looks very different. Maybe our child can't do gymnastics. Maybe they are limited on doing some type of sport. Maybe they can't do sports at all. Maybe they're very overwhelmed and have a lot of sensory issues when it comes to being in large crowds with birthday parties and holiday events. So the life that we envision sometimes doesn't always pan out, and we tend to grieve silently and we're isolated and alone. And a lot of times this grief is unknown, it's unheard of, it is hidden, it's not talked about, or just the people around us are unaware of this, okay? So I'm going to give you a few things that I know we experience, and then I'm going to give you just my perspective on how to redefine this, vision that you have for your child and how you can build connections and support to support this vision, okay? So the first thing that we envision is parental guilt. That's the first thing that we experience. I can't tell you how guilty I have felt when I have tried to tap into every resource for both of my children, and I felt like I wasn't doing enough. I felt like I was failing them. I felt that, will this help them? Will this really make them, in comparison to their peers who are, that there are other children out there that don't have these disabilities. There's so much parental guilt because we feel like we're not doing enough. We feel like we need to be doing more. And then we're burning out because we're trying to find every resource and trying to get them to, maybe they can participate in gymnastics. Maybe they can participate in this. Not to say that the Special Olympics, that is wonderful. And I endorse that organization all the time. However, just for us as parents in general, for our, in our home, and what we want the best for our children is we experience a lot of parental guilt because maybe our kid won't be able to do that. They won't be able to throw a baseball. And those are the things that you imagine, when I become a parent, this is what I want to do. And then we get struck with a diagnosis that may not be possible. Okay. And I could tell you, as a mom myself, I have felt so guilty on so many things. And I can tell you, sometimes that guilt can turn into resentment and anger. I'll give you a prime example. I know at my job, a lot of the moms will talk about how their kids went to baseball practice. They went to, volleyball practice. They went to this. And, some of them have children the same age as mine. And those are conversations I cannot really participate in because my children can't do that. Okay. My 13-year-old cannot. Now, my 9-year-old has a lot of sensory, things that really just overwhelm her. So participating in certain activities, it has to be more of a controlled environment, and it has to be something that she, is comfortable with. So when these conversations go on, 9 times out of 10, my poor little brain kind of shuts down and I shut it off. Because what comes up for me is I feel guilty because my daughter can't do the same thing as the coworker's kid. And I know it's normal to feel that way, and it's okay to feel that way. But we can't put ourselves in comparison to what other children who don't have medical complexities, don't have special needs, and compare them to our child, because our children have different abilities. They have different ways that they shine and different things that they can accomplish. So what I've taken with those conversations is just take it with a grain of salt, because I know what my children can do, and I know what their capabilities are. And I'm always trying to find the positive out of that and say, well, that was great, and this is that. And because all of them know that I have special needs children, and it's just a different avenue, and it's a different way of life for me. Now, another thing that we silently mourn and we grieve is those missed milestones. So, of course, when they first start to walk, when they start to sit up and hold their head up, when they start to speak, when they can just independently eat by themselves, or they can independently put on their shoes. Depending on your child's diagnosis, depending on the abilities and the therapies that they're receiving. I know for my children, my 13-year-old is never going to be able to tie her shoe. She needs 24/7 care when it comes to all of her needs. Now, my 9-year-old, that is definitely a possibility, because I have been trying to get her to do that. And that is more than likely probably going to be a reality where she can go ahead and do that, where she is a little bit more capable. But with my medically complex 13-year-old, it's a little bit more challenging, where she did not hold up her head, at 6 months old or 8 months old. She did not walk for several years. She will never be able to speak. Those are the things that, as special needs parents, we grieve and say, well, my child didn't talk at 12 months old. They didn't walk, by the time they were 12 months old. They are not going to be independently eating by themselves. A lot of them are G-tube fed. A lot of them, may be blind or hard of hearing, which I know my daughter has a hearing loss. So sometimes those missed milestones can really just, bring up the grief and just make us mourn as far as the life that we envision for our children. Okay. And it's okay to feel that way because we create our own milestones. We create our own path for our children, and we create all the small and big wins that we want for them. Okay. So one thing that somebody had told me when I became a special needs mom is you have to redefine what your normal is, what your success and happiness looks like for you and your children. Okay. So your normal may be different than somebody else's, but you have to decide as the parent of a special needs child what your normal is, what success and what milestones are a success for you and your child, and what happiness looks like for your child and yourself, right? So you have to redefine without the guilt, without thinking, oh, well, they're never going to reach that milestone or they're never going to do this. No, you have to figure out what your normal is. I know what my normal is for my children. And I know what successes I bring to them and what makes them happy. And I maintain that happiness in my home and create just positivity and peace around it. Okay. I've made peace with, okay, they may not reach this milestone. They may get there later, or they may never reach it. But if we continue to work at it and continue on the bigger goal as far as, okay, to making sure that their basic needs are met, making sure that they're happy children, making sure that they do the activities that they love to do. That is redefining what your normal is. Okay. Now, the hugest piece and the last part that I'm going to talk about in this episode is the connection and support. We as special needs parents, or even parents in general, we need that connection with other parents just like us, and we need that community support. So whether it's support groups, whether it's, through your child's school, whether it's therapists, make sure that you have the adequate support and connection with other parents, or it could be family, it could be friends, that understand your journey and understand what you're going through. Support is so important because we want to make sure that we feel empowered to make these decisions to create better lives for our children. Okay. So that is it for this episode. As always, if you have an interesting story or something that you would like me to share on a future podcast episode, please send me an email at email@thecoparentingmama.com. Also, make sure you guys stay tuned to the newest episodes. I will be dropping when the YouTube channel will be available and the new series, Couch Confessions. So, hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will chat with you guys next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you have an interesting story that you would like to share on a future podcast episode, please send me an email at email@thecoparentingmama.com. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please click the link below and fill out the form. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, give a five-star review, as this helps reach more of you parents out there listening to this show. So thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.